Thank you for your interventions and questions. Let me begin by thanking our mandate sponsors, Mexico and Chile, as well as other states who have reaffirmed their commitment to the rights of women and girls and expressed their support for our work as we celebrate our mandate's 15th anniversary. Let me also commend the states that have adopted policies grounded in an intersectional, feminist, and a human rights-based approach, and who have shared promising practices that can serve as inspiration for others. Through our consultations, your submissions, and listening to you today and yesterday, we know that change is possible. And while not everything can be improved overnight, there are steps you can take immediately to accelerate progress towards substantive gender equality. In the context of care and support, for example, you can extend parental leave to men, and you will see positive impacts of caregiving on them, such as deeper family bonds, emotional well-being, and more equitable relationships. You can also eliminate laws that discriminate against women and girls. You can involve those who receive care as well as those who provide care and support, and women's organization in decision-making processes. You can recognize care and support work as essential to the economy and the society, and use surveys to quantify the time spent on these activities to assign a monetary value. There are some of the quick measures that you asked us about, yet the journey towards substantive gender equality will be a long one. Transforming harmful gender stereotypes that reinforce restrictive roles and contribute to discrimination against women and girls must be addressed through education, public awareness programs, and active interventions. This year we are commemorating Beijing Plus 30, and while there is progress to celebrate, the world is also facing an ever-increasing gender backlash. With aging populations and declining birth rates, many governments today promote prenatalist and family-oriented policies. However, tasking women with reproducing the nation threatens their hard-won rights, including sexual and reproductive health rights, and efforts to combat gender-based violence. We would also like to recall that Article 1 of the UDHR is clear that human rights are granted to born people. We must all stand firm in upholding the rights of women and girls and working to accelerate the fulfillment of the 2030 Agenda. Spaces such as the Human Rights Council and the platform of independent expert mechanisms on discrimination and violence against women, namely the ADVO platform, help these efforts by facilitating the exchange of good practices and enhancing cooperation. As some of you acknowledged, women and girls in conflict settings are disproportionately affected. People do not die only from bombings. They also die from the lack of care and support. It is therefore vital to uphold international humanitarian law to ensure that civilians are protected, that healthcare workers, humanitarian personnel, and the civilian care infrastructure are not targeted in armed conflicts. We call for a shift in public spending away from militarization and towards building societies rooted in human rights and ecological sustainability. Protecting those who care for people and the planet should be our upmost priority. Women human rights defenders deserve credit and care and support, not punishment. The working group approaches care and support from an intersectional feminist perspective. Due to gender inequality, uneven development, and the legacy of colonialism, slavery, racism, and environmental destruction, women in rural areas, especially indigenous women, have been excluded from meaningful access to health, education, and employment opportunities. Yet, they can serve as an inspiration for promoting interesting alternative models for protection, self-care, and safety, particularly in relation to collective care. These models deserve to be explored and shared, and the working group plans to engage on this topic further this July through consultations in Latin America. Mr. Vice President, Excellencies, now allow me to conclude by saying that it is a high time to realize substantive gender equality in care and support. Care and support are the backbone of every society, yet they remain invisible, undervalued, and disproportionately shouldered by women and girls. When the state and the market shift the responsibility of care onto families, it deepens gender inequality and reinforces discrimination. We must invest in care and support as a public good through inclusive, gender-responsive, and rights-based systems. Care and support are not private issues. They are a public responsibility. Recognizing care and support work as essential to our economies and communities is not just a smart policy. It is a human rights obligation. Let's transform care and support systems to achieve real substantive gender equality, and the time to act is now. The working group stands ready to support your efforts in implementing human rights obligations and ensuring gender equality. And we look forward to continuing engagement with all of you, and thank you again for your valuable interventions during this dialogue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.